Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wheel of Albums. Along with my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I'm Justin. And what we do here on Wheel of Albums is we spin the 1001 albums you must hear before you die wheel. And then whatever album comes up, the three of us listen to it for that week. Then we get together and discuss it, and we put on a little podcast here for you. This week, I got to spin the wheel, and I spun the 1981 debut album from the Gun Club, Fire of Love.
I got into these guys just in the last decade or so. Never really listened to them much before, but a few of their albums came up on acclaimed albums, and I try to, enlighten myself with some new music from yesteryears, and this is one of my favorite finds, I would say, in the past 10 years. Got into their second album, Miami. Their cover, Run Through the Jungle by CCR, is great, as long as Carry Me Home. So this isn't the first time I've listened to Fire of Love, but it's the first time I've listened to it multiple times in a week, and I enjoyed it. Adam, how'd you feel about this one?
It's like the rawest version of country punk you're ever going to get, and I absolutely dug it just from the first listen. You would think after a first listen, that they're just a cool 80s punk band, but by the end of it, you go, wait, they're a country punk band. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye, especially after listening to Sex Beat, which just sounds like a straight-up punk rock song. By the time it breaks into Preaching the Blues, it's like, whoa, where are all these slide guitars coming from? I love it.
The Gun Club. I have heard this album in the middle 80s one or two times, and then I heard it a few years ago when I was walking the dogs. I decided to listen to the old Gun Club again. I think my renewed interest in them was when the Japan Droids had covered For the Love of Ivy. Really good cover. But I was looking forward to this one. This time I thought, hey, this may very well be an album that you must hear before you die.
You can't talk about the Gun Club without Jeffrey Lee Pierce, their lead singer and founder. He has a vast musical background. You can tell because he draws influences from stuff from country, the blues, and along with the newfound punk energy in the LA scene at the time. It all comes together and just makes a nice hodgepodge of some beautiful tunes. So after listening to the music and then actually seeing his stage presence on some videos from back in the 80s, he doesn't look like the shaman that's singing about, Jack on Fire, Marlon Brando of LA Punk. And I'm pretty sure that he would take that as a compliment if you told him that.
Jeffrey Lee Pierce absolutely does not have the look of a blues preacher man.
Upon the research, Jeffrey Lee Pierce apparently was president of the Blondie fan club.
And while he looks like the president of the Blondie fan club, what I get from him is that, if you only hear him, he has this conviction of a really good country star. I mean, when I look at him, I think of Christian Slater's body double from the epic 80s skateboarding movie, Gleaming the Cube. And that does not go along. His voice does not match the sound or the look that he has and the sound that's coming out of his mouth.
I can best describe his look as Toe Cutter from Mad Max. Maybe had a son that wouldn't listen to him, but he still had to look like Toe Cutter. So Toe Cutter Jr. we'll go with. He's very comfortable in his voice because these songs are his voice. Nobody sounded like the Gun Club. However they sound had to be the correct way for the Gun Club to sound.
And between his voice, Jack, that is so unique, and so much the Gun Club sound, what also works on Fire of Love is that great rhythm section. Then they had Ward Dotson they brought in, was the guy's name on slide guitar, along with Pierce's vocals, make a sound of like a train, like the song Black Train on there. No pun intended to Soul Asylum's Runaway Train. But that ramshackle feeling that it has feels dangerous. It takes 50s and early 60s music and just makes it feel very, very ramshackle and dangerous. Are probably the two words that are the secret weapon to me. What do you think, Adam?
I think the secret weapon on Fire of Love is a little bit of everything. I certainly think the thing I enjoyed the most was that ramshackle rhythm guitar. I mean, I could listen to that all day long. Perfect examples if you go listen to Ghost on the Highway and Preaching the Blues. Those two songs are just rockin' country blues, and it's great.
Jack, your secret weapon.
It's not guns, surprisingly, even though they're apparently in the Gun Club. I think it's the fact that you don't know what's coming, but everything has a scintilla or an ounce of familiarity with something. whether it be old blues, whether it be country and western, whether it be what was emerging as the LA punk scene. They were fearless in the sense that they were doing it clearly only for them. This was their art, particularly Jeff Pierce's vision for what music should be or art. So I'm going to go with fearlessness is the secret weapon of the Gun Club.
Gun Club are absolutely a product of wrong place, wrong time.
I think so too, Adam. Listening to this, I'm reminded of the blues revival in the 2000s with the White Stripes and other bands like that. No offense, I like a lot of that stuff, but this really wipes the floor with some of that stuff.
Would have had way more success in probably in the 90s with alternative music, or like the early 2000s. Pandroids, Black Keys, meshing a lot of different sounds together. I think they would have been better off in those eras.
What people have taken from the Gun Club, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So when you listen to some Dead Milkmen songs even, that kind of sounds like pieces of the Gun Club. When you hear some X songs, later X songs, you can hear that was pieces of the Gun Club. But the Gun Club didn't fit nicely into anything. He put everything he liked into each song, whether it be a piece here or there. But it was a bouillabaisse of Jeffrey Pierce's musical interests. And that was never going to be top 40, no matter what year, no matter what time, no matter what place. It was always going to be admired, but it was never going to be popular.
So if we take a look at our ratings, all songs 1 to 10, then divide that by the number of songs on the album, I've got the highest with an 8.0. Adam scored in the 7s, Jack a 5.9 for an overall rating of 7.06. Our 3 favorite songs, there's lots to pick from. Sex Beats, She's Like Heroin to Me, and Ghost on the Highway. Those were our top 3 songs.
And he's asking for the soundtrack for our escape route back to reality. The invention was correct.
Is this a album you must listen to before you die? Because it's in Robert Dimery's book of 1001 albums you must hear before you die. My vote goes for yes. I think it is something you must hear before you die. Any of the first 3 albums from the Gun Club that I've listened to are all must listens before you die. Jeffrey Lee Pierce, rest in peace. I wish that they would have had much more success than they did and much more exposure than they did. Start here with their first album, where it all starts. I promise I won't steer you wrong on this one. Jack, what do you think?
My rating seemed to come in a little bit lower than I thought it would, being as how I like this record. And then I've realized these aren't songs that you would normally put in between. You know, you can't really listen to Whitesnake, then the Gun Club, and have it roll into a Cyndi Lauper song nicely. I so respect this album and what they were doing and what they were inventing that, yes, this is an album you must hear before you die. Re-listening to this made me think of when I watched Moulin Rouge for the first time. And even though I don't really like the movie Moulin Rouge, I was so impressed that they were making such a movie. So The Gun Club, Fire of Love, is an album you must listen to before you die. And Moulin Rouge is a movie that you should watch before you die.
For me, Fire of Love by the Gun Club is an absolute must before you die. You gotta hear this album. The songs are well crafted. The guitar work is just manic but spot on, and Jeffrey Lee Pierce feels like a force to be reckoned with. I feel like he should have gotten more glory than he got. You got to put on some leather chaps, get yourself a mohawk and a black leather jacket, and rock out with this brilliant cowboy punk perfection.
Hey, it took a while, but we finally have a unanimous yes album between the 3 of us. Hey, thanks for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow, vote on the poll, and if you're listening on YouTube, we'd appreciate it if you subscribed, commented, tell us what you think of Fire of Love. Is it the great masterpiece that we all think it is? Adam, you've got the next spin. Go ahead and give that wheel a tug.
And up next on the Wheel of Albums, the wheel's been spun. And we've got Scott 2 by the one and only Scott Walker.
And now for Gun Club Stories from the Desert.
Promise Me seems to be the most likely song that you could listen to repeatedly, hear different things, and even sometimes let you realize you really shouldn't be having a conversation with yourself on your desert trip.
I had a dream the other night that I was given copious amounts of drugs, dropped off in the middle of the desert somewhere, right at sunrise. The only thing that could get me back was Jeffrey Lee Pierce's voice, singing Ghost on the highway. Your gesture is meaningless. You're lost to the living men.
I went to a punk rock show in Las Vegas to see the Gun Club, and I was slipped something as I was finishing a drink. Me feeling wasted, jumped into the mosh pit for the fantastic She's Like Heroin to Me. I then made a bad decision to go with people after the show I didn't know to a party out in the desert. There, I was robbed, beaten, and left with only the clothes on my back. The tune that was able to get me back to the strip is the epic Cool Drink of Water.
We'll catch you all next time on Wheel of Albums.
Lord, I wonder will I ever get back home.